But wanted to get into a little bit of this Oklahoma team, and obviously a much improved group from what we've seen a year ago. When you look at the metrics, when you look at how they've played on the field, obviously you know having a healthy Dillon Gabriel certainly helped. The defense certainly seems to have taken a step forward. But I'm going to come back to the game last year, which Texas dominated 49-0. As a Sooner, how badly does OU want this one this year?
Very badly. You want it every year, but last year, and I had a front row sideline seat to that. That's the least fun I've ever had at a football game. As a player, as a fan, broadcaster, like whatever you want to, all my roles in my day, that I've never had a more miserable time at a football game than at OU Texas a year ago. But it's certainly
Were you ready to put on some pads and go play quarterback, just see if you could improve the situation?
It was not good, Max. It was not good. But you look at this team this season for Oklahoma, and this Texas team this season, it's not the group from a year ago for either side. And I think I think that's the message Steve Sarkisian is going to be sending to his team. And I certainly think that's going to be the message that Brent Venables is sending to his team. I think both teams are much better than they were a year ago. Now, to what degree? I think Oklahoma is a more improved football team, but that's because they just weren't very good last year. Texas, you look at this team, they were solid a year ago, but clearly, they have taken a step and they're looking like one of the best teams, if not the best team in all of college football so far this season. So I get that people will want to bring up last year, especially Texas fans, and I totally get it, right? That's how this thing works. But I don't think what happened last year has much of an influence on this season, because going into that game, I mean, there's a psychological component to a team knowing they're not going to have their quarterback. You got to realize all those guys for OU, they, not to throw Davis Bevel under the bus, but they'd seen him practice, right? They probably knew what was what heading into that football game. When you were running the Wildcat the majority of the game in the year of our Lord, what was that, 2022?
Yeah.
Not a particularly good situation, but I think both teams will have a completely different mentality heading into this one.
Well, it's funny, I'm sure for Schmitty, it's this whole year, it's more been whispering 5-7 in their ear than talking about that game, right? I mean, there's lots of motivation to choose from last year. It doesn't have to just be this one. So this team, I've been impressed so far, Gabe, by just, they've feel like they've kind of done everything right. I know people knock the schedule so far, but how could you not be impressed by what Oklahoma has put on the field? I'm curious. It's easy to point to the things where Oklahoma's better. In what ways do you think Brent Venables is a better boss in year two in the ways you've observed, known him as well as you do?
Yeah, we do a lot of things with Venables, like all of his media obligations throughout the week. Everything just seems more organized. Right. And you'll hear that if you ask around the program, it just feels more organized, right? It feels like things are less chaotic, less hectic. This is something small, but last year, for whatever reason, he would just be late for his press conferences and no one really knew why. And now he's on time. He's on time for his TV show on Monday nights. Like it seems like all of the responsibilities that come with being the head coach at a place like Oklahoma, right? You're balancing a lot, and it seems like he's found that balance. And
a lot of learning on the job, I guess, for him, because this is his first time doing
this. It's a different routine, though. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, you don't know everything that goes into it until you have to do it, right? And I think Venables went through a little bit of that last year. And the most noticeable coaching difference for Venables is he's way more involved with the defense. And that's throughout the week. That's on the practice field. And that's certainly on game days on Saturday. OU's offense is out on the field. Venables is in the defensive huddle on the sideline, drawing up stuff on the whiteboard, going through cards. Like he is, I think he saw what they put on film a year ago and he was like, we are absolutely not doing that again. And he's taken a lot more responsibility and he's more invested. And before the season, he said he needed to do that. It wasn't anything about anyone else. He was like, I needed it for me. So he's heavily involved when, just during the game on defense. And he's one of the best defensive minds, maybe the best defensive mind in the last decade in college football. So I think him being more involved is definitely one of the reasons you're seeing the defensive improvement you're seeing from Oklahoma, along with guys just being more comfortable in the system, right? They are way more organized before the snap. It's last year there was a lot of fire drills going on right before the opponent snapped the football.
Yeah.
That has dwindled significantly. The defensive line, you add some guys in the portal, you move a guy like Jonah Laulu from the edge to the interior, and they've looked much better, right? The tackling is significantly better. Danny Stutzman's playing at an All-American level at the will linebacker position, and then the secondary's got better athleticism, better length. Like, I know we started talking about Venables, and I just went into telling you about the entire defense.
That's okay.
I'm almost
That's
pulling
right.
a Venables as I do.
You are pulling a Venables right now.
I am pulling a Venables talking about Venables, but it's much more enjoyable to watch defensively this year for Oklahoma. Now they're not where they need to be, and I don't even think they're as good as they're going to be this season, right? They're going to continue to improve because they got some guys that just haven't played a ton of football that are playing some key spots defensively. But yeah, so far so good.
But did I say 5-7 earlier? I mean, I'm
So
not trying to give
I wasn't
Oklahoma
going to
any
say anything.
bulletin
I was
board
like, how
material. It was
dare
6-7.
Max take that sixth win from us?
Wow.
Oh,
How dare he?
Of course, we all specifically remember that sixth win. It's a very memorable one. I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, I apologize, Oklahoma. They went 6-7 last year, not 5-7. Significant difference. I big name drop here, Gabe, but I was texting with the king of Oklahoma, Eddie Radosevich, last night, and he brought up something to me that I had not thought about, and I don't know if this is something that you get ranty about or how you feel about this, but can you explain to us, is there still a faction of Oklahoma fans who don't fully believe in your quarterback, Dillon Gabriel?
Yes, there
Where are
is
we
a
at there?
faction, although I think that faction is shrinking.
Okay.
I think people realize just how good Dillon Gabriel's been this season. And he's coming off one of his best performances. I thought the first half against Iowa State, right? You don't score 40 points and a half against Iowa State.
No.
That doesn't happen. And that's what Oklahoma did. Looking back on Saturday night, Dillon Gabriel in that first half, I thought that was the best half of football he's played in an OU uniform. And it wasn't particularly close. He's finding a, whatever you want to call it, confidence, swagger, like an edge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he trucked a dude for a touchdown run. I mean, he is, I think he's at the point where he realizes how important this season is for him and his football future, just like we all do when it's your last go round.
Mm-hmm.
But he is at his best, in my opinion, when he's playing really aggressively. And that is, and what I mean by that is like pushing the ball down the field and giving those wide receivers a chance. But yes, there are some OU fans out there that are convinced that if Jackson Arnold, who I think is going to be a star at Oklahoma, that if they took Dillon Gabriel out and put Jackson Arnold in, that would solve every offensive problem that OU's got. Because everyone knows, yeah, let's do it for OU Texas. Why not? Let's throw the true freshman out there who hasn't played really any meaningful snaps in a football game in college. Let's throw him out there in one of the most supercharged environments possible against one of the best teams in the country. What could go wrong, guys?
I don't know. It went okay
Texas
for
will never
Caleb
see it
Williams, did
coming.
it not?
I mean, it did.
It did.
It did.
But I feel like 21 was different. I mean, there was definitely signs with Rattler at that point that,
True.
and there was, I feel like that dynamic was different than what we've got now where, I don't, do you think that is just fed though, Gabe, by this is the extremely high standard of quarterback play that Oklahoma fans are accustomed to now, even though Dillon Gabriel's playing at that level this year?
Bama's going through the exact same thing right now. Right? They had a hell of a run at quarterback. Oklahoma fans look at it and go, well, the quarterback position, it should be just like Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. Those were the 3 dudes we had in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good run. 2 Heisman
Pretty
Trophy
good.
winners and a runner-up. I mean, the standard is incredibly high. And this is the thing about Dillon Gabriel and Jackson Arnold. Like, Dillon Gabriel's ceiling, right, with some of the things he can do physically, it's not as high as Jackson Arnold's. Right? We all can acknowledge that. But the floor is much higher with Dillon Gabriel because things can go terribly wrong for a freshman quarterback. I mean, terribly wrong. And I feel like with Dillon Gabriel, you know what you're getting, right? You know there's some limitations there, but he's playing some of the best football of any quarterback in the entire country right now. But that's never good enough for some fans. You guys know how this works.
If they win this game, then those fans will be saying Dillon Gabriel, Heisman leader, right?
Oh, I think there's now Caleb Williams.
My goodness.
Very good. This just in. Here's my analysis of Caleb Williams. Very good at football.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about this as I was watching him against Colorado. And I've watched a lot of college football. I think he might be the best college football quarterback of my lifetime.
Wow.
Which I just turned 33. So that includes Vince Young, Cam Newton, Tebow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is must-see TV for me. And I know some OU fans, and I know I'm an OU guy, but listen, I can put all that stuff aside and just watch the guy and kind of watch what I think is one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen at this level.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Dillon Gabriel, when you look at this game, OU's going to need Dillon Gabriel to be great or else they're going to lose. Bottom line. The matchup between OU's offense and Texas's defense, which I think everyone wants to talk about Ewers and A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, and rightfully so. Those guys are really, really talented, really, really good, but I think their defense is the strength of their football team.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've been the more
100%.
consistent unit so far this season for them. And you look at the matchup in this game, OU's offensive line has had issues getting the running game going. And I do think it's some schematic things that they're doing that are a bit of an issue, but they haven't created a ton of movement at the point of attack in the run game. And I don't think all of a sudden that movement's going to come against T'Vondre Sweat,
Mm-hmm.
Now, we'll see. You never know what can happen in this game. You never know.
Yeah.
But
T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy have been beasts so far this year.
Byron Murphy is I think Byron Murphy's their best pass rusher. That's one thing. If you're looking for weaknesses for Texas's defense, I do not think they have a premier edge rusher. Right? Sorrell's good, but I just don't think they have an early round draft pick on the edge right now. Their interior guys are a problem, though.
Mm-hmm.
But Byron Murphy, his pad level, his quickness, he could be an issue for OU's interior offensive line. And then Sweat, he's been an issue for everyone. That guy is way more athletic than people realize. To do some of the things he does at that size, and he's really improved as a pass rusher as well. I think OU, they got to hit some big plays in the passing game. Then they're going to be competitive plays, right? Very Texas defensive backs, their secondary. They're really talented. But I think that's where OU's going to have to find success, because we just have not seen the Sooners run it very efficiently this season. And I'm just not expecting that to get corrected against the best front seven they've played all season long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's stay on Texas there. Obviously, you watch the Big 12 pretty closely. How much a believer are you in Texas right now? We talked about the improvements. I think we've had some people discuss over this weekend after, they closed out Kansas by 26. They've won every game by double digits. Some people maybe argue maybe they're the best team in the country. How much a believer are you in the Longhorns at this point?
I know this is going to sound just ridiculous coming from an OU guy. I have not seen a better team in the country on tape than Texas.
Wow.
They don't seem fraudulent this year. They really don't.
I have watched every snap that they've played on both sides of the ball this season. At least once, a lot of them twice. And one of the things I do when I evaluate tape is like, okay, where are the weaknesses? Glaring weaknesses. I don't think Texas has any. If you want to say, hey, Ewers isn't great when he's got pressure in his face. Well, hey, this just in. Quarterbacks suck when there's people right in their face.
Right.
It's not just a Quinn Ewers problem. They've got elite skill talent. The offensive line is playing at a high level. I think there's still more there. I think Kelvin Banks played the worst game I've seen him play against Kansas. I don't know if he was sick or what was going on there, but they've got a really good O-line. Ewers is solid. All of a sudden, Ewers can run. He's just taking off, ripping off touchdown runs.
Like when CJ Stroud just suddenly had that skill in the playoff game last year. Like, what?
Just like, okay. I mean, he's racing to the pylon and diving on naked boots on the goal line. Like, all right, Quinn, go ahead and do the thing, man. But yeah, I don't see any glaring weaknesses for him. And that, turn it back to the Red River rivalry. That's where OU's going to have to earn this one, man. I mean, you're going to have to outplay him. You're going to have to have some things go your way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bert Auburn, their kicker, struggling a little bit. I think that you're going to have to force Ewers to make a couple mistakes, and you're going to have to play at an extremely high level. You got to win special teams if you're Oklahoma. If you lose the special teams phase of the game, if you're Oklahoma, it's you're not going to win the football game, because if you just look at the rosters across the board, Texas is a more talented football team than OU. Now, that doesn't mean that they're just guaranteed to win this game. That's not how football works.
Mm-hmm.
But
you've seen lots of Red River games where Oklahoma was way more talented and Texas was not ranked, and they were wild games.
Going into one of those games was the only one that I lost that I played.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
that was guaranteed to be a slaughter that year. Yeah, I remember.
Gosh, let's not talk about it.
That's okay.
But the bottom line is, if OU is at their best, there's no doubt they can win this football game. But it comes down to execution, mistakes. There's people hate talking about. There's a little luck involved in all of this. But yeah, Texas, when you just evaluate them, they're as good as I've seen this year.